Hey, I'm Steve Krenz for Guitar Gathering. Thank you for joining us on this lesson on how to make 2024 the best year of guitar yet. Now, usually we have a PDF for things, but we don't have a PDF tonight, so we're just going to be showing some graphics on the screen. If you can, take a moment to subscribe. That always helps our channel. And let's get right into how can we make this year the best that it can be. That's what we want to go to. So we're gonna cover some B's. I wrote down 5 different topics of some things that help me as a professional player here in Nashville be able to continue to progress in my playing and to make sure my practice time is where it needs to be. So we're going to talk about practicing things. We're going to talk about your mindset with all of this and get to some other things here in a little bit. So you guys ready? Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you need to do to make sure that you're going to make good progress throughout the year is, number one, be consistent. Be consistent with your practice and your efforts. Consistency will beat even length of time that you practice much every time. It's consistency is the thing. So let's get into that for a second. Be consistent. You want to set aside a consistent time to practice. Okay. Now, that could be the morning for you? It could be the night for you. I don't care. It can move around. I don't care. The main thing is that you do it every day. It's consistent. It's consistent. If we just do practicing a couple of times a week, you're never going to get where you need to go. This is about being fruitful in your efforts. That's what we don't want to waste time. So here's some down-to-earth nuts and bolts way that you can do that. Number one, set aside a consistent time for practicing. These are things that help me. Number two, second thing, have your guitar in your hands every day. That's just kind of a rule of thumb. My guitar is in my hands at least once every day. Usually on most days, I'm playing, I'm doing all kinds of things with it, but the goal is to have my guitar in my hands at least once every day. So that's a good place to get your consistency started. Next thing, for me, part of consistency is having the technique part of my practice to work on technique every day. Every day I work on technique things. Why? To keep my hand strong, okay? Not that I'm, running through scales and stuff like that, but I run through arpeggios, I run through hammer-ons and pull-offs. Currently, I'm doing these arpeggios. Which involve hammer-ons and pull-offs to keep my hand strong. And you know what I found as I've been doing that consistently every day? I'm just better. I can play better. My ideas are coming out more fluidly because I've got my hand is completely warmed up all the time because I've been doing these technique exercises. So I may not play a song every day, but I am doing my technique stuff every day to keep my hands strong. If I don't do that for a week or two, next thing you know, I'm fumbling over this and that because my hand just needs the hand strength I do. Now, it can take various forms, but the technique stuff is something I do every day. I need to find for myself, in order for my hand to be where it needs to be, I need to be consistent with that. So those are some things to think about when you're thinking about being consistent. Let's look at the second of our 5 B's. This next one is be prepared. Be prepared to learn. When you're coming at practice time, the mindset that you need to have is that this is a time to work. And so we need to have a few just physical things ready for us. So first of them out is I like to have my guitars out and easy to reach. I've got racks of guitars just out of sight here, and those guitars are within reach. I don't have them buried in a closet somewhere. When I have a few minutes, I can come up and I can easily grab them. That's just a little trick you can have. Have your guitar out on a stand. If you're afraid it's not going to get knocked over by something going on, have your guitar out. It'll make it easier for you to be prepared when it's time to practice. Next thing out, I've got a music stand. I've got several music stands. There's music stands all over this room. I've got a music stand and I've got a pencil on it, so I'm ready to go at any point in time as I'm practicing. Okay? The goal is to get things done when we're practicing. So these are just little tools to do that. Another thing I like to have is a little practice journal. I have a little practice journal that I write things that I'm currently working on. I have another calendar over here that I write things that I work on every day. And it just helps me keep focused on it, is these little tools of having a little practice journal, writing down what I've covered, what metronome I was at, things like that. Keeps my mind on what I should be doing. Next thing is a metronome. Of course, I've got one on my phone. This is a regular one here. We did a whole lesson on working with metronomes and how you should work with metronomes. You don't need to work with a metronome on everything. That gets a little too much, but you need to know how to work with a metronome and how to measure your beats per minute and your progress through all of that. So a metronome is another tool that you need to have. And let me let you in on a secret, one that I have just started using. A timer. Regular old little timer. Regular old Walmart timer. Me and this timer have learned all kinds of things. Okay, so I have it usually set around 15 minutes or so. And for me, this has been a lifesaver, is just having a little timer, because for me, I'm a little distracted. I have a tendency to be distracted in my learning. And if I don't kind of keep myself in the lane and keep myself on task, then I have a tendency to wander in what I'm doing, and I'll end up spending twice the amount of time and getting half as much done. So this little thing, a little kitchen timer from Walmart, probably costs less than $10. That has been a real help to me in practicing. What I do, this is exactly what I do each morning, is I get up, I grab my guitar, I set that for 15 minutes, I work on my arpeggios, which takes me about 10 minutes in one key, and then I work on a couple of songs. I go do some other, usually by the end of 15 minutes, I'm kind of tired, so I want to go do something else. And then I'll come back to it a little bit later and work another 15 minutes. I found that I could get all of my practice time in good 30, 40 minutes and be raring to go for all the playing that I need to do all day long as I can do that. But I can't sit down for 40 minutes, so that helps me to be able to break up that time a little bit more efficiently. All right, let's look at the third one. Those are some items for being prepared. This is the next thing. You want to be, when you practice, you want to be focused. Focused. The non-engaged sort of practicing that we all have a tendency to do at times is not helpful. You can get so much more done when you're focused on what you are trying to accomplish. So along those lines, here's the problem. Here's the problem. In our world today, we kind of approach everything with this kind of Netflix scrolling, this TikTok scrolling. Nothing wrong with Netflix or TikTok, but the idea of just constantly scrolling. I tell you, I've watched 1,000 different 5-minute lessons by various people all over. And you know what? I don't get, generally, for me, while it is good information most of the time, I'm not getting a lot out of it because I'm not applying it. I'm just going on the next one. That's cool. Look at the next one. That's cool. Look at the next one. I don't get anything done. The problem is I need to focus. I need to focus to really allow ideas into my, underneath my fingers. So that's the problem, is we approach it as kind of, we're flipping channels. Don't do that. You're not going to get anything done that way. With that, we end up with tons of width. We've seen videos and all kinds of things, but absolutely no depth. We'd never get any better because we've just kind of dabbled in 1,000 different things. Okay, so here's the first thing. Have a goal. Have a goal for your practice time. Write it out, what you're trying to accomplish. Have a goal for this year. What do you want to accomplish for the next 3 months, or the next month of your practicing, or the next 3 weeks of your practicing? What's your goal? Write it out. Be focused with that. If you get too distracted with 1,000 different things, I tell you what, you never hit the one thing that you're actually trying to learn. So, next thing is work on things that work on when you're practicing things that you want to learn. Now that sounds simple, but what I'm getting at there is you don't want to waste time with non-engaged kind of noodling, where I'm just kind of sitting there, I'm half watching TV, and I'm kind of got my guitar in my hands. You're not getting anything done practice-wise because you're not focused on it. This non-engaged noodling not going to get you anywhere. 5 minutes of focused practice time is worth an hour of just sitting on the couch with your guitar in your hands. So that's the idea with that. Work on things that you need to learn, that you want to learn. Don't cover stuff you've already done. Don't cover stuff that you already know how to play. Cover new stuff. Always be scratching out, clawing out new ground. Here are the three areas that kind of cover what you should be practicing. Technique, songs, and improvisation. Those are the three food groups to keep you alive as a musician. Technique, songs, and improvisation. If you take out one of those legs on our three-legged stool, the whole thing goes down. If I take out technique, then I make and play my songs, but I never get any better. If I take out songs, then I end up being really good on technique, but I have nothing to play for people when they say, hey, you play guitar. If I don't work on improvisation, now I'm not talking about, jazz soloing. I'm talking about just being able to create on your instrument and make something musical happen that you're interested in playing. If I don't have the improvisation in there, then I end up starting getting really dry in my heart as I'm playing. So you need all three of those to be working. Now, how do we put that all together? Well, I did a simple little 30-minute practice routine. This is what an average 30-minute practice routine ought to look like. The first 5 minutes should be just warming up, doing some stretches, doing some physical things. Maybe I'm playing some chromatic scales, something like that. Maybe I'm really quiet. When I first get up in the morning and I start playing my guitar, I don't start ripping all this sort of stuff. I'm doing simple things like... just kind of warming up, getting my fingers used to moving. My fingers used to moving. Spend 5 minutes doing that. Next 10 minutes, I work on technique. If I have a 30-minute practice time, I would spend the next 10 minutes working on technique. Whatever that is that you're working on, whether it's learning particular scales, learning chords, hammer-ons, pull-offs, I don't care, some sort of a technique, whatever technique that you're working on at the moment. The next 10 minutes should be applying that technique to songs. Put it into some sort of a musical situation. We did Freight Train. I haven't played Freight Train in a year or two, and so I had to dust that off. So as part of my practice time was working up Freight Train and these songs I'm going to play. So the last 5 minutes, you put all that stuff away and you just improvise on your instrument. Again, that could be jazz soloing, but it doesn't have to be. Or rock soloing or whatever. It doesn't have to be that. It could be just creating something interesting on your guitar. Experiment, get better at expressing yourself on the instrument. I don't care if it's two notes. Well, I was playing this the other one. Whatever it is, just explore your instrument. That's a good 30-minute practice routine there to help you stay focused in your learning. All right, take a look at the next one. The next one, you're focused, we've been consistent, we're prepared to go. The next one is be flexible. Be flexible, okay? If you get too rigid in your practice time, as far as I'm going to do this, and I've got my charts and graphs, and I'm going to do 40 minutes of this, and I'm going to do 2 hours of that, and you'll find yourself, you get 4 days into that, and you want to give away your guitar. Don't do that. Be flexible. Be flexible. What do I mean by that? Okay. When you get bored or tired, if I'm playing, for me, it's about 15 minutes. After I've done something for about 15, 20 minutes, I'm usually bored or tired. At that point, don't force yourself beyond that point. I found that's not helpful to me. The best thing I can do is just stop. Go do something else. So I'll just stop and I'll go go get a bite to eat, or go work out, or go do something on the computer, or go bounce the basketball, whatever. Go do something else, okay? And then come back to it after a while. I want to be focused. I want to be learning. And I find that for me, for better or for worse, it usually comes in smaller segments. So I can stay more focused if I do smaller segments. So when I get bored, I've learned that there's nothing wrong with that. I don't grit my teeth and try and play my way through the next 2 hours of being miserable. Nah, just go do something else, come back to it again in a few minutes. Next thing, what you practice should be flexible. But that you are practicing is rigid and consistent, okay? So today I may be working on songs. Tomorrow I might be working on trying to do some jazz soloing. The next day I may be working on that. What I practice is flexible. But that I practice is consistent, rigid, every time. So if I get too rigid in what I'm practicing, I end up getting frustrated. So I found that helps. Some days you want to play songs instead of doing technique. Some days you want to kind of go down the rabbit hole and into technique and do that for a while. Just let that go. Let your mind go down the rabbit trail of learning a new skill or a new song. Allow that in your practice time. I found that helps me. If I, find something that I'm interested in, like let's say it's that pattern, and I could go, oh, well, that's cool, and then move on to something else. No, I'll let my mind go down that rabbit trail a little bit. And I'll let my mind, can I do it on other strings, that sort of stuff. Let your mind wander musically. It's good for you. Last thing of our big five, we've talked about being prepared. We've talked about being consistent, with being focused, being flexible. Here's the last one. And as I get older and more comfortable playing, this one is starting to be a much more of a bigger deal to me. Last one, be curious. Be curious about your instrument and the music that you can make on this hunk of wood. Okay? Be curious about what can happen. I remember Phil Kagi saying one time, sometimes when I get bored, I just start moving these and get into a different tuning and see if something happens. Just be curious about your instrument, how you can create on it, what sounds it can make on it. Allow your mind to be curious about the guitar, whether it's doing some new technique, doing a new chord progression, way to form chords. I found this one the other day, and I thought, that's fun. Got some open strings there. What if I could do it another place? Can I do it in another place? Can I do it in another place? So just allow your mind to be curious about your instrument. A lot of times that will be the gas that really gets you going in your musicianship. So anyway, there's some 5 things to help make this year, 2024, the best guitar year that you can get out of it. And that's really what we want. We want to make progress in our learning. So here's my last thought. Never underestimate the power of doing the right thing over a long period of time. So practicing, being consistent with that, being flexible with your mind, allow your mind to kind of go and explore some different things. You're being prepared so you're ready to learn. Be consistent with all that stuff. Be creative and curious. That's all part of being the best guitar player that you can be. Hey, I'm Steve Krenz for Guitar Gathering. Keep up the great work in your learning, and we'll see you guys next time.